in baseball. Today we're going to be discussing, obviously, the continued labor talks with the players and the owners. And we'll also be ranking relievers and catchers. I think has some potential to be our most entertaining position rank for reasons that you'll have to stay tuned and watch the rest. Or if you're listening to us on BlazeRadioOnline.com, we're coming to you live from the Bill Austin Radio Studio. You'll have to be with us because I think our catcher rankings are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cole, Ryan, how you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to get into this.
I'm all right. I'm tired and I'm stressed, so it's all just kind of coming full circle. It's like hitting me like a bus, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I think Ryan's really stressed about where Cole and I are going to rank Salvador
Perez.
Perez.
I just know that one of you guys is going to put him somewhere where he should not be just to upset me.
No,
and you know what? If I was here to do it, if I was here for shortstop and second base, I would have done it to piss you off, Dom, and not put Tatis in top 3.
Thank you for saying one of the 7 foul words to not be used on BlazeRadioOnline.com according to the FCC. Ryan, we are a minute.
What'd I say?
The P word.
Oh, I said that?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Hello, everyone in Taylor Mall that happens to be walking by.
Yeah, whoa.
Anyways, let's.
It happened. Let's move on.
I know. I'm gonna move on. I just wanted to take a little jab at you.
You already take enough.
Yes, I do. Baseball labor talks, or lack thereof of baseball labor talks.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Basically, the owners have given up on trying to do it themselves. They tried to hire an independent
federal mediator.
Which went very well in 1994. He says sarcastically. But it's just upsetting because the owners locked out the players in an attempt to speed up the process. That's what they said. And since then, the owners have made one proposal. So they basically flat out lied, and they have rejected the players' proposals, which is fine. That's how negotiating works, but no progress has been made.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I personally just don't understand. And I look at it from two lenses here, I guess. The first and the biggest one being, obviously from the owner's perspective, my guess is you want to try and bring in a mediator to speed things up because, again, you're well aware of the fact that, okay, we're in the danger zone now. It's more so about not losing regular season games above all else. And along with that, it's like, okay, well, it also kind of says a lot about you as a contingent where you can't go to the table and have these conversations and be able to sort of, do the negotiating yourselves, which again, there's not a whole lot going on. There hasn't really been a whole lot going on in the first place. And so in that sense, I like the idea that the players rejecting the federal mediator because they want this done in good faith. They want this done on their terms. They want to be able to talk to these guys. And all this tells you is that things are a lot more tense than we probably thought they were.
Which was already pretty tense.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I mean, and again, I'm players here, but if I'm the Players Association, I want to kind of speed this up too. So I think it should be less of a pride thing and more of like, okay, we obviously can't see eye to eye here. Maybe it would do us some good to bring in a mediator. Other leagues have done it before. They cited the NFL, the MLS. I think the NHL did it as well, and it worked out for them. I mean, I see both sides of the coin. I mean, in a perfect world, these two sides are able to have discussion and healthy discourse, and they're able to kind of get something done eventually. Now, this isn't a perfect world. It's far from it. It just stinks to see. It's not the best. And now, I mean, again, the pettiness continues with the owners saying that they're just not even going to come and propose another counteroffer. They're literally just, I mean, they're just going to, go back into a corner and I guess, wait until the other side cracks. And I just think that's the last thing you want to do right now. So Yeah, I mean it's tough to like watch. I mean, obviously we can't see this play out. There's not like there's cameras in the rooms and stuff. Honestly, as much as I hate to talk about it, I would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations or those arguments. Maybe I mean honestly, it might be kind of comical, but it just shows the divide here that it's much the gap has been wider than ever. I guess.
Yeah, it's frustrating to just.
Mhm.
I mean, we have no control over it, and we're the ones who pay to watch these players. We're the ones who sit down and watch the television,
Right.
which allows for commercials to be so much and allows for these TV deals to be so lucrative. So it's really upsetting. Ryan, I mean, what are your thoughts?
You guys have said it all. It's as frustrating as it could be, especially now with the announcement coming out tomorrow how they're going to push back the start of spring training. And it's just ridiculous at this point. I mean, I know that the MLB declined the mediator and everything, but there's just got to be some point where both sides are like, okay, we're tired of this. Let's get baseball going. I
Yeah.
mean, where's that breaking point? And Cole, like you said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for these conversations because, man, they would be entertaining and we would know a lot more than we do. But it's at the point where the season starting on time is very much in peril, and I don't think the season will start in time anymore. Both sides are being too stubborn, especially with free agency. If free agency was concluded, it would be a lot different. But free agency isn't anywhere close to being done.
Yeah.
And that's going to have a huge impact. And yet everyone's just saying, oh, we're fine. Let's just keep arguing. No, get something done.
Yeah, and I still think the season's going to start on time.
Oh, you optimistic soul.
Well, I just there's no reason for them to delay the season or to shorten the season. There is none. Like,
So I have a question.
what?
How long do you allow for free agency then?
I mean, I think you just kind of say like, all right, like
It's going to have to be at least a week or two, and they're going to have to at least have a week and a half period. But I use this in quotation, but spring training to just a supplement so guys
Yeah.
can at least warm up and
Yeah.
not just go cold turkey on opening day and they haven't thrown or.
We saw what happened when they had that little training camp before the 60-game season. You need time to get your bodies
They're going
ready.
to have to do something like that. So they're going to have to
Yeah.
at least have a week and a half, 2 weeks for that. Maybe
I agree.
2 weeks to wrap up free agency, like a collision course kind of thing, which would be crazy to watch play out, by the way. I guess
100%.
I guess that's something to kind of look forward to. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we don't even know.
So, that is an optimistic view. Oh, we can look forward to the free as
yeah.
cool. It would be cool.
Yeah.
It just sucks that we've come to that point.
And I think it's great to remain optimistic. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's time to necessarily. I like to think it's not time to necessarily start mashing the panic button that we're going to miss games. I mean, yeah, it's becoming increasingly more likely, but I mean, I'd like to sit here and think that. I mean, again, both sides want the same thing as much as it may not seem like it. I'd like to think that at some point we're going to string it together and be like, we just want to play baseball.
That's
now,
the hope.
What that means for the long-term ramifications, if they just throw some kind of scrap of a CBA together just because they want and rush through it. I mean, what do you sacrifice there? You sacrifice more time to actually making the future and the integrity of your game that much better, or do you want to just throw something together for So there's a lot in play here, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy how inactive they have been. Like, if they
It's
go
ridiculous is what it is.
Well, because I mean, it's one thing that if they're talking and they can't make an agreement, like that's one thing. Obviously, that's still frustrating, but at least you could say, all right, well, they are talking. Like they're trying. They may not be trying their hardest, but they're trying. The owners literally are not trying. Yeah, they said, all right, we'll try and bring in a mediator. No, make some more offers. And you know what? If it comes to the point where your offers aren't moving the needle for the players and the players' offers aren't moving the needle for you, then say, okay, we'll bring in the government. And that would be not.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
I think
but
it's terrible,
if that's what it has to come to,
if that's
Exactly.
If that's what it takes at this point, like crap.
Exactly.
So
which is pathetic
yeah,
in my opinion.
it's sad, but I mean that's literally what it's come to. So we don't really have a choice. We're expecting Rob Manfred to announce that spring training is delayed. That's why I haven't bought tickets yet for any of the games because I mean, one, my schedule doesn't really allow for me to go to that many games this time around.
Yeah, honestly.
Last year was perfect with the
Mhm.
only 2 days of like in-person class. Oh, it was lovely. But this time around, not really going to work.
None of that.
So we'll see. We'll have our updates. Do we have anything else to talk about on that front? Major League Baseball.
I mean, I haven't heard anything since the owners said that they were going to come to the table with a counter offer.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
players
2
seem
days
sounds
after
about
they said
right
they
with
were
them.
going to.
sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see what happens.
The players seem united, which good for them. But
Yeah, they all came on social media. I think it was on Friday. I think it was last Friday, and I think Max Scherzer in particular posted on Twitter. I can probably find the tweet, but he said something along the lines of like, we, what we have pitched from the player side, we feel is reasonable. It is a reasonable enough offer, and there shouldn't really be as much backlash or as much, I guess of a staunch, whatever, there's kind of a block that, from the owners, like
Yeah.
they feel there shouldn't be as much of a disagreement as there is currently there. But yeah, he said something along the lines of that. I can't really pull it up right now, but yeah. So we'll have to see.
it's gonna still be a slow process. I'd still give it a couple more weeks until, or not a couple, but like 2 more weeks until I'm like, okay, this thing's really not gonna happen
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so here's the tweet, and I think this kind of tells you the story. Max Scherzer on February 4th said, "We don't need mediation." This is after the Players Association declined the federal mediator. "We don't need mediation because what we are offering to MLB is fair for both sides." Like,
Well. Here we go.
I don't think you can get more, transparent than that from the
Yeah.
players' side, and it makes me that much more supportive of the players. Is like they really believe in what they're offering, and they believe that turning the federal mediator down is best because they do want to have a conversation with these guys. They probably want to better the relationship for crying out loud. And if it's going to take, being able to just sit at the table with these guys and try and have a conversation, and at least one side is making the effort, then again, it's about compromise. It's about meeting in the middle. And from this, it sounds like one side is just not doing that. So,
Yep, it's frustrating. Ryan, anything else from you?
Honestly, you guys, we've all agreed on this and how it's just frustrating and how at this point everyone's kind of helpless. It's ridiculous and it's tough to watch, tough to go through. And I know all of us kind of expected that this would come, but still at the same time, it's something that we don't want to go through. Nobody wants to go through. And who knows? I mean, we were robbed of baseball 2 years ago, and I don't want to be robbed of more baseball again. So,
Yep. Ryan, do we want to rank relievers first or our catchers?
you know what, Tom? Let's just rip it off like a Band-Aid here. Catchers.
you don't want to say the best for last?
No, let's rip off the Band-Aid because I don't think Dom's putting Salvi where he should be.
Well, I mean, honestly, Ryan, there are people who think Salvi is top dog.
I mean,
there are people that think he's top
Yeah.
5, and there are people that think he's not even a top 10 catcher.
Well, that's because people are stupid.
I agree.
That's because people are stupid.
I agree. I fall under one of those categories.
I don't know why, but I feel like you're just gonna do this to upset me.
No, I'm not. I don't say stuff on the show that I
Yeah.
take seriously to upset you.
Yeah, you're pretty sus always about him. You're never.
There are other people that we have shows
Yeah.
with, not on this show, that do that, Ryan.
And
You know
live
exactly.
with him.
I do
You
live with him.
with him.
You're right.
You could take after him.
I don't live with him because he makes fun of you on our show, on the 4-3 show.
Trust me, I know.
Anyways, let's jump into these
Listen
rankings.
to the 4-3 show Mondays, 8 to 9 p.m.
Yes. Almost as good as the Golden Sombrero show that you were listening to live on YouTube
That is
and on
facts.
BlazeRadioOnline.com, coming to you from the Bill Austin Radio Studio. Cole, you always have honorable mentions,
Yeah.
so I'm going to lead off with you. Do you have any honorable mentions and then jump into your number 5 catcher?
Yeah, for catcher, this was kind of interesting to put together. I mean, it's kind of one of those positions that sort of fluctuates. I feel like year by year, and it's mainly because of lack of offensive production or a boost of offensive production. So, my honorable mentions are Mike Zunino and Sean Murphy are not on my list. I looked into their numbers, and particularly Murphy's defensive metrics. He's probably one of, if not the best, like defensive guy in the league currently. Like if you look at the advanced numbers, so that was kind of neat. And plus, he swung the bat, not this year, but at least last year he swung the bat a little. And Mike Zunino is just he's the Italian stallion. It doesn't get much better than that. Do you want me to just do my number 5?
Yeah, I had the same honorable mentions too.
Oh, perfect. Okay, my number 5, and it feels weird putting him here. Mitch Garver.
Okay.
I have in my top 5, and again, this was like it didn't feel right at the beginning, but I kind of checked back on the numbers and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Last year, COVID season, he played 23 games, was not great at all. 2019 was obviously his breakout. He was great that year. He's not a real good defensive guy. The OPS plus in 2019 was 157. He was nuts. This past year, again, kind of hurt. Only played 68 games, but 139 OPS plus. Very, very convincing again. And I mean, 13 bombs to go with that. Dude gets on base. I think at his age, 30, he's probably going to only continue to regress from here. And again, as I'm talking about this guy, kind of in realizing more and more that he's probably not as top 5 as I think he is. But I mean, I think he's at least fringe. So he falls in for me. He's definitely top 10.
Yeah, I would have put him at like that 8 range. He didn't quite make an honorable mention for me, but I mean, he was close. Like he had a good year, had a really good 2019, but he was one of the worst catchers in baseball in 2020.
Yeah,
he's inconsistent defensively. So there's like he's one of the best pitch framers, but he's also like he doesn't throw runners out at a high rate. Which one guy that we'll talk about throws out runners at a high rate tonight. So we'll see. Your 5 is Mitch Garver. Ryan, do you have any honorable mentions? And who is your number 5 catcher?
Yes, I actually do have a couple honorable mentions. One of them is Sean Murphy, and the other one is Jacob Stallings.
Stallings. Love me some Stallings.
I wanted to put him in my top 5. Like
he came really close for me.
Really, really bad. But.
And also Zunino. I forgot about him. Those guys are my honorable mentions just outside the top 5. But my number 5, I'm probably gonna get a little bit of flack for this, but I'm gonna go with Wilson Contreras. I know that he's gone down in recent years, but he's still pretty consistently a good piece in that lineup for the Cubs. So I think that looking at him, he's also not a terrible defender, but I'm going to go with Wilson Contreras at 5.
Yeah, Contreras is a guy that I can't. I never know how to view him because like
exactly. It's hard to view him.
He's consistent.
I'm in the same boat. I don't know like where he falls.
He's consistent, but he's just like a consistently above average catcher. But I've never like back when the Cubs were like World Series contenders, absolutely a top 5 catcher, like one of the best in the game.
Yeah,
he's probably in that 8 range, similar to like where. Garver is. So I did not rank him. I have a different number 5. I also wanted to give a shout out to Buster Posey. I'm sure that after his year last year, we all would have ranked him.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
However, he retired from baseball, so that would be really dumb to rank him. But shout out Buster Posey. Very glad that he retired because he has made a living of being a really good catcher and being really good against the Padres.
Divisional opponent.
Yes, Diamondbacks too as well. My number 5, Omar Narvaez. Was an all-star this year.
I was close to putting him in my top 5.
I was close to, but I cut him off.
Right, and he's a weird guy because he kind of just burst onto the scene as like a truly really good catcher last year. He'd always been an average catcher. His problems were defensively, and with the bat, it had always been there somewhat, but then it really elevated itself last year, and his defense was actually really good. So I decided to give Narvaez a nod in the top 5. He's going to get platooned with Pedro Severino.
Yeah, I really
next year.
like that trade.
Right. Great trade. We talked about that before the lockout ensued last semester. and we all like that. And I think that has a chance to make him even better. He platooned last year with Manny Pena, who's solid, but I really think that putting Narvaez in the top 5 is warranted. Garver certainly warrants it, and so does Contreras. So it's interesting that we all had different 5s. We've had guys in our lists, but I think that there's a pretty clear top 4 catchers in baseball.
Yeah.
And then we all had different 5s, so I think that's fun.
Yeah. See how the rest of this plays out.
Ryan, let's go to your number 4.
Yasmani Grandal.
Okay.
It's so hard to view him because of his inability to really consistently get on base and have a solid average. Not get on base, but consistently get hits.
Yeah,
get hits.
Hot
It's-
take. 420
my
OBP
bad.
this past year.
Yeah, my bad. Not on base, but consistently put the bat on the ball. He does well, has a great eye. He gets on base a lot with a lot of walks. He strikes out a ton, though. Average isn't there, but his ability to get on base, and he's really, in my opinion, I think he's a solid defensive guy. So,
yeah,
number 4.
I have Grandal higher on my list, which is fine because, like you said, Grandal is really hard to rank.
He is, especially because that average.
Yeah, he only
Tough.
hit 240 last year, and he didn't play a ton, but he still put up a 3.7 WAR on Baseball Reference in 93 games, which as a catcher is extremely impressive.
And he walks more than he struck out.
Yeah, the 18% walk rate is extremely impressive with a 520 slug. So I have him a little bit higher up on my list. But Ryan, I mean, like you mentioned, he's hard to rank, especially when he's only played like 75% of his team's games in the last 2 years. Which, I mean, at catcher, it's kind of expected, especially with his age. I mean, you talk about Garver being 30.
Yeah.
Grandal
only going to start regressing.
He's 33,
He's
so
gonna start playing
we'll see. It's funny because assuming that we all have the same top 4 guys, 3 out of the 4 of them have been around to the fact that they've hit their free agency contract. I mean, Salvi's been a Royal the entire time.
He will always be a Royal.
I didn't say that he won't be.
Oh, I know. I'm just putting it out there. That man will never not be a Royal.
Right,
so.
and catchers don't exactly have long lifespans, but
their shelf lives are pretty small.
But
some of these guys.
Yeah, but the really good ones are the ones that stick around, like you said.
Yeah.
The veterans.
Yeah. Cole, who do you got at number 4?
I also have Grandal, actually.
Okay. All right.
And honestly, I don't really even feel weird about it. He's definitely top 5. I think he just sits outside of the top 3. I mean, he's not the most spectacular defender. And obviously, as he continues to age, he's playing fewer and fewer games. But when you're getting on base at a 420 clip and you're only batting 240, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much every year. And he's consistently throughout his entire career been a well above average hitter, which is just kind of insane to think about, especially for a catcher. That's kind of rare. You either have guys who are really up and down, or you have guys who are just more focused defensively. And deservedly so. It's a tough position to kind of balance the two. That's why the really great ones are great at both. And he's found ways to sort of round out his game as he's gotten older. I think he's having success because of it. So I have him at 4.
All right, Ryan, I'm gonna rip it off. I have Salvador Perez here at 4, and it's he's Ryan has left the building. Listen, Salvador Perez, 48 home runs last year, 121 RBIs. Obviously, really impressive stuff. However, with that, he only had a 273 average, a 544 slug. Like, he didn't slug the ball other than the times that he hit the ball over the fence. Tremendous catcher. I mean, he's ranked at number 4 here, Ryan. He's really good. I just think the 3 guys in front of him are better. I do. They're better defensively, and they're almost as good of hitters, and I think they'll probably all have better years than him. Maybe not Grandal, but Real Muto and Smith, I think, are going to have better years than him offensively next year. Home run machine, no doubt about it. He had a tremendous year, but you cannot deny his defensive liabilities. I'm just going to say it. And you're gonna say
I'm actually gonna say something about this, and you know exactly what I'm gonna say.
You're gonna say he throws guys out.
He throws guys out more
But
than
the
anyone
only
else in the MLB, and I know players run on him, but still, when he has the samples to do it, he throws them out.
Right.
And you know what? I know your whole basis is that he's a horrible framer, and you know what? That's fine. But I do not think that constitutes him being outside the top 3.
I mean, I think it can because I think
No.
fielding
No.
at catching is the most important.
Fielding does matter a lot.
It matters a lot. And like this isn't me slandering Salvador Perez. I just said said he's the 4th best catcher in baseball. I mean, Ryan, I've seen people put him outside the top 10.
Well, that's because they're stupid.
I agree. Yes, but some people value stupid people's opinion.
You're borderline stupid right now. He is top 3.
Go for it. I mean, he ranked 6th in WAR for catchers last year, and WAR's not everything. It's not, but I mean, he hit 48 home runs as a catcher and was 6th in WAR. Like that should tell you something that he's a good hitter.
It's either going to tell you that fielding, which he does struggle with, has a huge impact. 1, and 2, the Royals are just that bad.
No, that has nothing to do with it. He walked 4% of the time.
Okay. That guy has never walked in his career.
I know.
Salvador Perez has never walked in his career.
And
last year was a career high in walks.
Right.
Okay?
And he's the 4th best catcher in baseball. And he's not. He has his flaws. He has his strengths, and that's what makes him the 4th best catcher in baseball.
Right.
Like this isn't me slandering him. I'm just saying that I think there are better catchers than him. That's all I'm saying. Like Salvador is great. I would die to have Salvador Perez on the Padres, Ryan. I wouldn't do that, but
stick with Hosmer.
No, Ryan, you can't say that to me.
Stick with Hosmer.
No.
Stick with Hosmer, buddy.
Oh.
Have fun with Eric Hosmer, who you're paying $141 million. Your franchises, your favorite franchise, I should say.
That is true, yeah.
$141 million to be mediocre.
Mediocre.
For the contract.
Dude has 0.5 WAR in 4 years. Anyways.
That's hardly existent.
Yeah.
Wait on. 0.5 in 4 years?
In 4 years. And that's with like 1.5 in the shortened season.
I would have thought he would actually be on a better track than that.
No, he's been bad. He's been really bad.
No, he hasn't been bad. He's been horrible.
Okay, fine. He's been really bad for his contract.
Okay.
That you can't deny.
He's been atrocious for that contract. He's just been bad overall.
Right. All right. I ripped the Band-Aid off. I put Salvador at 4.
We don't even have to. We can just end it now.
No, we're not going to do that.
That's it.
That's all, folks.
Salvador Perez.
Enjoyed the show.
If you were listening on YouTube, where do you think Salvador Perez ranks? It's very controversial. I mean, that's just what we're going to say. Brian's probably going to have him at 1, which is fine because I mean he hit 48 home runs this past year as a catcher. Like that's really good. But where do you all think Salvador Perez ranks? You're going to find out where Cole and Ryan will rank him. Ryan, I'll throw it to you. I assume he's not at number 3, so who do you got?
I had a really tough time with number 3 between the 2 guys that you also mentioned. I'm going to go with Will Smith here, but I think this year he's going to overtake Real Muto. I just think that for Will Smith, he hasn't caught as many games as I'd like to see because I know the Dodgers also have Barnes, but I think that if you see more of a sample size from him, you'll truly see what the full potential is. What we have seen in that limited capacity is still fantastic. And the future for the Dodgers at catcher is bright because of him. I think that he's good defensively. He's a great hitter. He's got all of it. And I think that's why he's a top 3 catcher.
Yeah, so confident in him that they traded Keibert Ruiz to the Nationals.
Exactly.
They got Max Scherzer and Trey Turner in the trade. But yeah, Will Smith's really good. Cole, who you got 3?
I have Will Smith as well. For all the reasons Ryan really said. I mean, look at the guy's been in the year 3 league. The guy's been in the league 3 years. I can't talk. And he has already, he in those 3 seasons in order, 133 OPS plus, 162 OPS plus, 130. Like he is an elite hitter at a position full of above average hitters. That's just something, I honestly think he is the best all-around hitter actually on this list. I think he's the best all-around hitting catcher in baseball. And I think along with that, maybe you think he'd sacrifice a little defense, but like Ryan said, he's not horrible. He actually fills his position pretty well.
He does.
And especially when you're catching a staff like the Dodgers have, I mean, I think your job's probably going to be a little easier than it is for some other guys. But still,
Oh, speaking of the Dodgers, sorry to cut you off, Cole, but we forgot to talk about the whole Trevor Bauer thing. And that.
Yeah, I mean, there's really
Yeah,
nothing to
say,
talk about
to be
because Major League Baseball is still investigating it.
That's true.
But
Good point.
Trevor Bauer is not being prosecuted by the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There's that.
Unpause. All right. Will Smith is.
Thank you.
Will Smith, I think, is going to be. I agree. I think Will Smith is actually probably going to overtake JT Realmuto if he keeps on his current track. Maybe not next year, but at least in the next 2 or maybe 3 years. He's just been an offensive machine, and in a lineup full of really really good hitters, he stands out as one of the better ones. So that's pretty telling.
Yeah,
He's number 3.
I have Will Smith at 3 as well. I have 2 knocks on Will Smith. One is that he looks like Sid from Toy Story.
Yes,
that is very true.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you had never heard that and you're envisioning it right now. I'm correct, and I'm sorry for putting that thought in your mind.
Can't unsee it.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
And number 2, teams will run on Will Smith like crazy.
Yeah.
So, and he does not throw them out that much. Salvador Perez throws out more runners than Will Smith does.
And he's 4.
Well, because that's a small aspect. It says a lot more to be like Yachty or Molina, where you don't throw as many guys out because they just don't run on you.
Well, maybe if base coaches were smart, they wouldn't run on Salvi.
It's like being a cornerback in the NFL and they eliminate your entire side of the field and just don't throw it at you because you're that good.
Yeah.
And they respect you that much.
Exactly. So, Will Smith, I got a 3. Cole, I'm going to toss it back to you this time. Who do you have at 2?
This is where I have Salvador Perez. And I think number 2 is a good spot for him because, yes, the offense is there, and I agree. I mean, I will say this. He's definitely warranted top 3 in my mind, alone based on the season that he just had. It was historic. It has never been done by a catcher before. Johnny Bench was the previous record holder in home runs for a single season with a catcher. So being historic in its own right, he definitely, I think, it's a warranted top 3 for me at least. With that being said, I think that, and it's not necessarily his fault. I think the biggest thing is that, again, the common theme you're going to see, especially with guys around the age of Mitch Garver, Salvador Perez, Yasmani Grandal, is they're at the point in their careers now where they're starting to see regression because of what their position demands of them. And, that's why we've seen guys like Posey, move to first base, or guys get moved to first base so they can kind of extend their career and still somehow be useful on the baseball field. I'm not saying that's what needs to happen with Salvador Perez. I just think that if he wants to stay top 3 and he wants to continue to produce, and hey, even if he wants to see his career extended even more, I think he needs to, and I think that'll inevitably happen, but I think they need to end up moving him either somewhere else or, do something else with him. Because I think at his current track, he's probably not going to produce like he has produced. But with that being said, this past year was incredible. The year before that, the COVID season, he was great too. Hit 333, 986 OPS. There's one thing that is undoubtable about him, and that's that he's always hit in his career fairly well.
Yes.
He's had some stretches where he's been subpar, but when this dude hits, he's hitting, and he's hitting for power. And that's something, again, that you don't really see. It's pretty rare sometimes with catchers to see a guy, hit not just for power, but just in general the way this guy hits for stretches. Yeah. So I'll give him that for sure. And yeah, he throws base runners out. You got to give him that. I mean, credit where it's due. But I think I will say, he's not as rounded out. He's not the same kind of top, if this was 4 or 5 years ago, I think there's an argument for him being number 1. I think he is number 1 on a lot of people's lists. But I think now that he's aged a little more, he missed all of 2019 with with the elbow injury.
Yeah, he needed Tommy John.
Yeah, and again that shouldn't hurt him in a from a ranking standpoint, but it definitely, the long term effects do. And again, I don't think it's really his fault. I just think the position he plays, you start seeing a regression at this point in players' careers. But this past year was definitely an outlier in a good way. So all credit to him. He's a phenomenal player. I'm going to give away my number one. It's obvious, JT Realmuto. I just couldn't justify putting him ahead of JT off of these past 2 years alone. I just think JT's a much more rounded out catcher. He checks all the boxes. So Salvador Perez is number 2, though.
Ryan, you're number 2?
JT Realmuto. Let me explain something that is my worry with JT. Since 2016, each year his batting average has gotten lower and lower and lower. He's not hitting as well. And you're seeing it. 2020, I know, is an outlier where he hit 11 home runs in 47 games, which actually isn't bad. But this year only hit 17 compared to his career high 25 in 2019 in his first year with the Phillies. His production hasn't been there. And I don't know if you're going to see it get back to where it once was. I know that he has also missed some games due to his thumb injury. He's missed games because he's been injured. It happens, especially to catchers. But his production is not where it used to be. And I can't justify him putting him at 1 right now because of his current dip in his production.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends what you're looking at. He definitely did not have his best year offensively this year.
No.
And that obviously I dropped him lower in terms of my theoretical ranking of him. Like if we were to rank players, he would have fallen in my players ranking. But I still do hold JT Realmuto at number 1. My number 2 catcher is Yasmani Grandal. He walks more than any of these guys.
I just don't know how you can do that with his average. He's not a consistent hitter.
Ryan, I'm not.
No, I know. I know.
I'm not going to try
very
and sound
talented.
I'm not going to try and sound like, some nerd here, but batting average is not the be all end all of what makes a good hitter and a great hitter.
I know. It's just I want to see more consistency from him.
Well, I mean, he was consistent. He was absolutely consistent this past year. He just didn't get as many base hits.
260s, 270s.
He got on base in 42% of his at-bats, Ryan. I mean, that is one of the
league's best. Very impressive. It's extremely
While
impressive.
Also playing great defense behind the plate. He didn't play a ton. That's fine. They have other catchers too. So, I mean, if he gets injured again next year, I think I'm really going to have to penalize him because at catcher, I think you should value whether or not you can stay on the field and you can catch a lot.
And again, it's that position. That's the grueling part of that position. It's what has ruined careers, and it's what sort of separated the guys who are the all-time greats. The guys who stay in it and are able to play for 20 plus years somehow behind the plate those are the greatest.
Right. And at catcher, you are the only position on the field other than the pitcher that game where you affect almost every single pitch. Or you affect every single pitch.
You do,
basically.
Yes.
So the fact that he is an elite defender, I value tremendously. The fact that he walks a lot, I value tremendously. And he also showed some power this year. He had 23 home runs in 93 games. That's very impressive. It's not as impressive as Salvador Perez was. And Salvador Perez, like I said, he's really good this past year. But I think Yasmani Grandal, what he brings, getting on base, and behind the plate, I would rank him at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still think JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball. I'll jump into it. His average has declined a little bit, but 343 on-base percentage last year. That is the second best mark of his career. The slugging percentage at 439 was his lowest since 2016, though, so you'd like to see the power bump this upcoming year, especially considering that he's playing in a hitter-friendly ballpark like Philadelphia. However, practically no one runs on him because he has a great arm, and he manages to do what he can with that bad pitching staff. Great framer. That's all I got to say about JT Realmuto. The gap between him and Will Smith and Yasmani Grandal and Salvador Perez got much smaller this past year. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But he still played 134 games, which is more than all the guys that I've mentioned on this list, except for Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez's durability is a fantastic trait of his, but I still think JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball.
The only hole I see in him is the slug. It's never really been there, but it hasn't really needed to be because he compensates in pretty much every other area.
Ryan, tell us why Salvador Perez is the best catcher in baseball.
You know, I'm going to counter your argument about how so many runners have run on him. And you know what? It's true. There are guys that steal on him. But consistently, that number has gone down. Let me take it all the way to 2013. He allowed 46 stolen bases. And then that number's consistently gone down, as in guys who are running on him. So this past year, he threw out, oh gosh, now you're making me do math. I'm a journalism student. Hold on. 18 of 41 runners. That's the lowest that anyone has ever ran on him in his career. Minus 2020, because he only played 37 games in 2020, and that's a 60-game season. So that number is increasing, has by the years consistently gone down because players know they can't run on him because he's going to consistently throw you out. Over his career, he's throwing out over 38% of his runners that are stealing on him, including 44% this year. And I know that's not everything with fielding, and I am the first to admit he is a horrible framer. I will admit that any day of the week. And his defense has gone worse as his career has progressed. When he first entered the league, after his first couple seasons, I should say, his fielding was really good behind the plate.
That was probably his strength. That was probably what really made him what he was.
Yeah, exactly. Because his hitting was still solid, but you knew Salvador Perez because of how dominant he was behind the plate, and it's gone down. And I'm not afraid to admit that. But the hitting, after having to undergo Tommy John surgery, an injury that ruins a lot of players' careers, not just pitchers. In 37 games in 2020, he hit 11 homers. This past year, hit 48. He set the record. He had 121 RBIs, had the best offensive season of his career. And I know the walks and on base definitely are not where they should be by any means. But what Salvador Perez has done over his career, especially coming back from that injury, and he's consistently been one of the top hitters for the Royals and one of the best hitting catchers in the league year in and year out, despite having some bad injuries. But over his career, he's been pretty durable. And Dom, you mentioned how that's a great characteristic of his. More math. Out of his entire career, only 3 seasons, he has not played 100 games where he has not missed the entire season. In his career, he's played 138 games, 150, 140, 130, 130, 130, and 161. He's consistently playing. And I know this past year when he played 161, some of that was DH. And that's understood. But he's consistently playing. And I know he's got a big body, but that characteristic of being durable definitely improves his stock and how he can compare against some other catchers like Grandal. And that's another issue of mine with Grandal is that he's not consistently behind the plate. He's injured a lot. So that's my entire thing with Salvador Perez is that, 1, he's durable. 2, he's consistently one of the best hitting catchers in the league. And I think that his fielding is better than people are saying, despite the framing being one of the worst in baseball.
There you have it.
There you go.
One's got him ranked at 4, one's got him ranked at 2, the other one's got him ranked at 1. So polarizing player. We got to jump into our reliever rankings.
Yep.
We only have about a little over 10 minutes.
We're gonna roll through these.
Should we just roll for our top 5 and we'll just name the guys below that we ranked?
Sure.
Yeah,
Here.
I'm down with that.
So Ryan, just in order, rank. Tell us your 10 through 6 guys.
10 through 6. Number 10 is Craig Kimbrell. Number 9 is Tyler Rogers. Number 8, Aroldis Chapman. 7, Devin Williams. 6, Andrew Kittredge.
Okay. All right. A couple of guys on there that I don't have.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those, just like outfield, it could be like a different day of the week.
100%.
Exactly.
Be like, I think this guy goes here.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that with a lot of pitching, including starters as well.
Outside of my top 10, I got Melanson, Jansen, and McGee. My 10 through 6 is Nick Anderson, Aroldis Chapman, Aaron Loop, Craig Kimbrell, and Giovanni Gallegos.
There you go. My 10 through 6, Kenley Jansen, Andrew Kittredge, Aaron Loop, there it is, Emmanuel Classe, and Ryan Presley. So those are my guys. Ryan, who do you have at number 5? And you can go into an explanation.
So you guys have named him, and I know that I'm going to get some hate for this one.
Always leads with that.
Well, I have Kenley Jansen at 5.
I mean, he's good.
Consistently been there, and I know he gets a lot of hate, especially from Dodgers fans. But man, he is such a polarizing guy at the back end of a bullpen. I would never want to face him. I just think that Kenley Jansen is easily one of the most feared pitchers to go against. And I know he has his struggles, but man, when he's on, he's on.
Yeah, and he was great this past year again.
He was.
He bounced back, and he was probably at his best again. And when he's throwing like he can, I mean, he's unhittable. He's just ridiculous. It's a guaranteed 3 outs when he comes in.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all. I have Devin Williams 5. I think, the rookie season as a reliever, him being rookie of the year, having a .33 ERA in the COVID shortened season, was enough to warrant him a spot in the top 10 to start with relievers. I mean, that's just ridiculous for a reliever to kind of place there, regardless of how long or short the season is. And then to follow it up this year with 87 strikeouts and 54 innings, obviously that's his trademark with his airbender changeup that is so notorious. A 2.50 ERA, like he's phenomenal. He's great. He's ridiculous. He's nasty. He's not the only Brewer who's in the top 5. I would probably say that's the same with you guys.
Correct.
But yeah, he's definitely top 5 in my book.
Yeah, I got Williams ranked a little bit higher. Who knows how the Brewers do in the playoffs if he doesn't punch a locker.
God, that's got to be one of
that's the
dumbest things to happen.
Yep, and he's very upset with himself. He knows he let his team down, so we'll see how he comes out and performs this upcoming year. My number 5, I've got Raisel Iglesias, Angels reliever. Super impressive this past year. He kind of bounced around between the high leverage guy and being the closer. Was also asked to come in for a lot of 4, 5, even 6 out saves. And if he wasn't just like abused by Joe Madden, which is basically just goes unsaid for any Angels reliever, I think
starting pitching's terrible.
I think he could have been even better. And 2.57 ERA. He was fantastic this past year. 70 innings pitched, which is a fantastic mark. Only a couple of closers reached that mark last year. And he was just fantastic. I got him at number 5, 13.24 strikeouts per 9 inning. Only a couple of guys really reached that mark. Kimbrell, Hader, and then Hendricks. And I know that I have 2 of those guys up in front of him. So that's where I've got Iglesias. Ryan, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, this is where I have a tie, but one of them is because I think he's a rising star completely. First one's Emmanuel Classe. I think that guy is going to be a top-tier closer in the next couple of years. He has everything that you want. And I know the last time he pitched was 2019. He didn't pitch in 2020. And compared in 2019 in his first year, 2.31 ERA, 2.31, sorry, and about 23 innings pitched. This year, he tripled his innings, going 69 innings, faced 279 batters, had a whip of .962 with a 1.29 ERA. He's got everything that you want. And I believe that when Kluber was traded to Texas, I believe that getting him was a tremendous pickup and worth it because of the potential that he had, and he's just letting that potential show. And then alongside with him, I have Aaron Loop. What he did this year was exceptional with the Mets. He set himself to get a nice little paycheck in free agency once the whole labor strike ends and the lockout ends. But I think Aaron Loop has consistently been a very good reliever, and this year is where he really put it all together. And I think that any team that gets him is going to have a solid pickup and someone that they could really benefit from having.
I did not have Clase on my list, but I'm just
He was a rookie,
having nightmares of 102-mile-an-hour cutters coming at me. So
Padres legend. He didn't make my top 5, but he was in my top 10.
I have Rafael Iglesias at what is this, 4?
4, yeah.
4. Yeah, like sub 3 ERA the last 2 seasons. Came to the Angels this past year and was basically their. I mean, I might be wrong here, but was probably for a good chunk of the season their only reliable reliever. 70 innings, 103 strikeouts. I mean, you kidding me? Just like ridiculous numbers. And he didn't walk guys, 12 walks. To throw at the velocity that he does as well, to not have command issues, that's huge. And he was a very, very valuable asset for them last year. And I think, good on them for they locked him up again, right? They extended him, I think.
Yeah, they signed him.
Good on the Angels for keeping him around because, I mean, given the situation with their staff, they need guys like that. So he's number 4 for sure.
Yeah, they also added Aaron Loop. There it is.
Yes, forgot about that.
Mr. 1 ERA, and then also added Noah Syndergaard.
Mm-hmm.
My number 4 reliever, I hate this man with a passion, and it's simply because he's just a really good reliever. It's Blake Trinan from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Ooh, I was so close to putting him on my list.
Right.
It was hard. It was really hard not to.
And he's not a closer. He might be their closer this upcoming year.
Depends on what happens with Kenley.
Exactly. So, kind of hard to rank him, but, I mean, dude is phenomenal. I mean, Cole already ranked Devin Williams in his top 5. He's my number 3. But, I mean, if you're a good reliever, you're a good reliever, period. And Blake Trinan is phenomenal, and I can't believe that other teams just let him go to the Dodgers. 1.99 ERA last year in 72 innings. This dude was abused out of that bullpen. 10.58 Ks per 9. He's just phenomenal. Ryan, who's your number 3?
My number 3, Ryan Presley. And I think it's maybe a little high looking back at it. I made these rankings last night, and then I put them on my screen today. But I think that looking at Ryan Presley, he, in my opinion, is really what made that Houston Astros bullpen, especially when Graveman struggled at the beginning when he joined Houston. And I just think that when you look at a closer, he's what exactly you want. He is polarizing. He's got fastball. He's got off speed. I think that you're also going to see a lot more from him. It just depends what the bullpen's going to look like for Houston. They're going to maybe need him more if they lose Graveman, but I think that Ryan Presley is definitely someone that is a top-tier closer in the MLB.
Graveman's on the White Sox.
Yeah, Graveman.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I was going to say Graveman got picked up.
I mean, it's tough because, I mean, we haven't really
My
been
brain
talking
is
about
fried.
these
I'm
guys.
sorry.
Because, I
It's
mean,
been a while. It's all right.
these writers, especially the MLB.com writers, they literally cannot write stuff about active players.
Yeah.
Frustrating. Cole, who's your number 3?
I also have Presley.
All right.
I'm just going to save us time, but it's basically for every reason that Ryan said.
Yeah, I mean, I had Presley at 6. He's really good. I thought some of the guys I just ranked above him are better. Devin Williams at 3.
Yep.
Rookie of the year in 2020. Could have been Cronenworth, but Devin Williams was absolutely worthy of it. I mean, he was phenomenal. He had a rough start to this past year, but he was so elite in the second half. Like, just as good as he was his rookie year until he had one bad outing and then punched his locker, which ended his season. And the Brewers' season ultimately fell short of where they were hoping in the playoffs, as they were the first team to get drilled by the buzzsaw that ended up being the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Williams is phenomenal. I think he's got the best single pitch in baseball. The airbender changeup.
It's definitely top 3.
It's up there. I mean,
yeah, it's top 3.
So good. He's so fun to watch, and as a big changeup guy myself, I just love to watch.
I think if you look at the numbers on it, I read something a while back. I don't know if this changed, but for a while, it was the most like quote unquote like unhittable pitch in baseball. I think opponents were like, of all the changeups he threw, he allowed like 1 hit.
Yeah.
Or something. It was ridiculous. Yeah, it's disgusting.
He's really good.
It's like he's playing wiffle ball and we're playing baseball.
Yeah. Unless if one of us had an absolute brain fart, the only 2 relievers that we have left are Liam Hendricks and Josh Hader.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting to see if we all put one of them at 1 and the other one at 2, or if we flip flop them around. Cole, I'm gonna throw it to you. Who do you have at number 2?
Hendricks.
Okay.
So I have Hendricks at 2. Yeah, I mean, at least in the American League over the past 3 years, I don't think there's actually been a better, not even closer, but just reliever in baseball. He's just been phenomenal. Consistent sub-2 ERA seasons. Well, at least sub-2 from 2019 through 2020. 2.54, obviously. This past year had 38 saves. I think that led the league, or at least led the
No, I
American
believe
League.
that was second. I think Melanson had the most.
Yeah, that's
39.
right. Yeah,
did.
Melanson had the most, but at least led the American League.
And yet
70
the Padres couldn't make the playoffs.
71 innings, 113 strikeouts. I mean, this dude's a monster. He's been so good. He's constantly refined his secondary pitches as well, and his fastball is nuts. He's just a dog out there on the mound. There's like not too many guys you say like, oh, like that guy's got like, you know, like he comes out there with giant energy, and you know he definitely shows his emotions, and I love to see that from time to time, and he's definitely one of those guys who every time he's on the mound, like I just drop everything I'm doing. I like to watch him pitch, so he's number 2 for me.
Ryan?
I agree. I have Hendricks at 2. I know that looking at this year, it's weird because it was the first time in, I believe, 3 years he had over a 2 ERA, but his whip was still sub 0.75. He's still such a dominant pitcher. And Cole, I agree with you. I don't think there's been a pitcher in the AL that has been better than him over the past 3 years. He has been the best relief pitcher and one of the best pitchers overall in the AL. And I think that when you see him, as his contract keeps going with the White Sox, he's just going to get better, and he keeps getting better. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's nearly impossible to put him outside top 2.
No, I mean, it's impossible. I also have Liam Hendricks at 2, which means we all have Josh Hader at number 1.
Yes.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have all been really good. Hader had some injury problems this past year, but in 58.2 innings, he had just as much WAR, according to Fangraphs, as Hendricks. I think that speaks volumes. 1.23 ERA from Hader and 15.65 K per 9. He allowed 1 home run to a left-handed batter all last year, and it was the last one he faced Freddie Freeman
Yes, it was.
in Game 4 of the NLDS. It's kind of unfortunate that there's been 2 seasons, 2 out of the last 3 seasons, Josh Hader has ended his season facing a left-handed batter.
Yeah.
The Juan Soto,
2019.
2 RBI,
Wild card game.
3 runs driven in, single that Cole just mentioned, and then of course the home run by Freddie Freeman. So wild stuff. Hey, it doesn't change the fact that Hader's an elite closer. And that's going to wrap up this episode of the Golden Sombrero Show. We're going to come back to you live at the same time next week, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Just released. Owners and players will be meeting on Saturday for a new meeting. Hopefully something gets done there.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so we'll see. Thank you all for tuning in. We will catch you next time.